We all know her name. For centuries, she's been called the woman who laughed at God. But what if that laughter wasn't a lack of faith? What if it was the sound of a heart broken by hope, one too many times? If you've ever felt like life has passed you by, or like your dreams have reached their expiration date, this is for you. Sarah spent 90 years in the waiting room of life, watching others get their miracles while she lived in the silence of a promise. Today, we're reclaiming her story. Beyond the miracle child is a woman of grit, a name change that shifted history, and the courage it takes to wait. Welcome to EmpowerHer Bible Tales. This is the story of Sarah, the princess of the impossible. Long before the laughter, there was the ache. In the ancient world, a woman's worth was often tied to her cradle. Sarah, then known as Sarai, carried a burden that many of us recognize today, the feeling of being not enough. She had left her home to follow her husband's vision. She had survived famines and the terrifying courts of foreign kings. She was resilient. She was beautiful. And she was loyal. But in her culture, none of that seemed to matter. Because she was barren. Every month was a reminder of what hadn't happened. Every year was a reminder that time was running out. Have you ever felt like you've done everything right? You've stayed faithful, you've worked hard, yet the one thing you desire most is the one thing God seems to be withholding. That was Sarai's reality for decades. But in Genesis 17, God does something unexpected. Before he fixes her problem, he addresses her identity. Up until this point, she was Sarai, meaning my princess. A name that tied her to one household. But God changed it to Sarah, simply the princess. This shift is vital. God was moving her from a private identity to a public destiny. He was telling her, you are no longer defined by what you lack. You are royalty. Because I say you are. If you are in a season of waiting, God might be doing a work in your identity before he does a work in your circumstances. We can't talk about Sarah without talking about her shadow. In her desperation, she tried to help God. She gave her servant, Hagar, to Abraham to conceive a child. We often judge Sarah for this, but let's be honest, when you've waited 25 years for a promise, helping God feels like common sense. Sarah's mistake wasn't malice, it was exhaustion. It led to pain, jealousy, and conflict. But Sarah teaches us that even the greatest heroes of faith have messy middles. Your impatience doesn't disqualify you from God's plan. He is big enough to work through your Hagar moments. Then comes the moment we all remember. 3 visitors tell Abraham that within a year, Sarah will have a son. Sarah, listening behind the tent flap, laughs. God asks, why did Sarah laugh? She denies it. Because she's afraid. But God doesn't rebuke her with anger. He answers with a question that should be tattooed on our hearts. Is anything too hard for the Lord? A year later, the silence of 90 years was broken by the cry of a newborn. She named him Isaac, which means laughter. God took her cynical, weary laugh and turned it into a laugh of pure, miraculous joy. She didn't just survive the desert, she bloomed in it. So, what does Sarah teach the modern woman? She teaches us that you are never too old or too late for God's best. Your identity is found in who God says you are. You are the daughter of the woman who waited, the woman who survived, and the woman who finally laughed. If you are in your waiting room today, I want you to write, "My time is coming," in the comments. Let's encourage one another that the promise is still alive. Don't forget to like and subscribe to EmpowerHer Bible Tales. Remember, your story isn't over just because it's taking time.